Martha Tennent, and happy Sant Jordi. I'd like to talk to you a moment about Mercè Rodoreda's novel, Garden by the Sea, that Marusha Relaño and I translated for Open Letter. If you're not familiar with Rodoreda, I think you should be. She's generally considered perhaps the most important Catalan writer of the 20th century. She was born in 1908 and died in 1983. So after the Spanish Civil War, we're speaking of 1936 and 1939, she went into exile in France. So she was living under very straitened conditions and writing as best she could. But then in 1954, she moved to Geneva, Switzerland, and their financial situation was much improved. It was a calmer period of time, and we see that reflected in Garden by the Sea. So the novel is set in the early 20th century, takes place over 6 summers at a villa by the sea outside of Barcelona, owned by a wealthy young couple, and we see them and their beautiful, rich friends. The novel is narrated by a gardener, an unnamed man who has the opportunity to observe the lives and ostentation of his employers and their guests, their superficial revelry, and also how it's marked by their suffering and failed dreams. So we have the gardener, who is this unassuming, quiet man who is both an intimate part of the villa and yet completely outside of it. So he offers the readers a vision of behind-the-scenes domesticity and the slowly developing malaise and intrigue as the protagonist moved gently toward catastrophe. So the gardener listens, he observes, he goes his own way, he tends his garden with infinite care and knowledge. All of Rodoreda's writings, short stories and novels, are filled with references to flowers, trees, and so of course this would especially be the case in this novel, which is about a garden. So we have magnolias and lilacs and bearded irises, red geraniums, nasturtiums, and most especially the ever-present linden promenade. So we have the lush descriptions of the garden, which are a perfect counterpoint to the domestic dramas that unfold. The existential ennui of the rich versus the gentle gardener who deals with his own grief. The novel's a slow-moving drama. Marusha refers to it as unhurried melancholy, the quiet road that leads to disaster, this measured discovery of ever-deepening layers of meaning that appear throughout the novel. And the novel is also about waiting and silence and what is communicated through these silences, the individual dramas, the pain behind the gardener's observations. And as always with Rodoreda, there's this rhythmic quality of the writing, a lot of sensuous details. It's a very tender book, mournful if you wish, but elegant and romantic. So I'd like to read you the first couple of pages of the novel. I've always enjoyed knowing what happens to people. It's not because I'm garrulous, but because I like people. And I was fond of the owners of this house. But all of this happened so long ago that I can no longer recall many of the details. I'm old, and sometimes I get mixed up. There was no need to go to the Excelsior to see films the summers they came with their friends. There was this one fellow who liked to paint the sea. Feliu Roca he was called. His work had been shown in exhibitions in Paris, and I believe he's known in Barcelona and made a pile of money with his swaths of blue. He had painted the sea in all of its incarnations, calm, wild, big waves, small waves, green the color of fear, gray the color of clouds, seascapes. He said he did seascapes, and his friends encouraged him to dapple the canvas because that's what Americans like. They made fun of him and would say too many painters had painted the sea already. And then the young man, a good-looking fellow with ash blonde hair and sleepy blue eyes, he stuttered sometimes, such as when the colors didn't come out the way he wanted them. I'm referring to the paint mixture. And he would say to me, "It's more difficult to paint this beast of blue than to tend flowers." And I would answer, "You're right. Yes, you are. Flowers grow all by themselves. Maybe that's why there's so little merit in being a gardener." I said it just to make him happy. And he said that when he finished painting the sea in every possible state of seaness, he would paint me sitting in the sun. I didn't believe him. No. Every summer when he came up, I was glad to see him again, and I think he was glad to see me too. 6 summers, all told. 6 summers and 1 terrible winter. Happy Sant Jordi!